then I saw the koala, and he just picked up the pizza and ran. And that is the fastest I have ever run in my life. But hello, and welcome to the PMQ live update for today, Thursday, July 30th. I'm joined by a good friend, Mr. Giovanni Labbate of Billy Brick's Wood Fired Pizza in Illinois, Northern Illinois. You have several locations, right?
Yep, all throughout the northwest suburbs. We have one in Oak Park, franchisee in Elgin.
All right, very good. So I was actually trying to talk to him before the pandemic, and then everything kind of went amiss, and we're all trying to put our puzzle pieces back together. But I wanted to talk to Giovanni a little bit about for the tips from the team, an article I do in the magazine. But we were going to talk about like employee compensation and how that kind of just goes along with keeping it, keeping your house happy, keeping everything ready to go. But then everything hit, and the dirt hit the fan, as they say. So I just kind of wanted to ask you, as I ask most everybody who just jumps on here, just kind of a brief rundown, the quickest of rundowns of like 2 minutes of, how it hit you guys at Bricks up in Chicago area in Northern Illinois. How it hit you guys, what was the first change you made and what you kind of made to now? And then we have several other topics, and I did want to let everybody know who's joining us right now that you can ask your questions live here in the Facebook comments. We'll put them up, and Giovanni will be happy to answer them. But we're going to be talking about employee compensation, opening up food trucks, mobile units in this pandemic, and, what are the changes for both of those from before the situation to after. So, Giovanni, why don't you take it away and tell us the first change up into where you're at right now?
Well, probably the first change that happened when Corona hit was we had to close down one of our locations in Mount Prospect. It's inside of an ice arena, so the hockey kind of went on a pause. So we have that symbiotic relationship with them. When there's hockey going on, we're pretty busy, and when there's no hockey, then we're pretty slow. So we just thought it was the best solution just to kind of put this location on pause. And I went out and helped out one of our other locations at Oak Park, which was one of our stores that was, I would say, suffering, wasn't doing as well as we wanted, and became during this pandemic one of our best stores.
Okay, so one of the first things that you had to do was actually to shut down a location.
Yeah.
And then you said that was at a hockey arena, and that wasn't it was because it was kind of located inside, more of a concession type venue.
Yeah, I mean, we have a full-blown restaurant upstairs in the venue, but
okay.
The issue is with this location, because hockey went on a pause, and with nobody inside the facility, we just don't, we're just not the normal business at like our other locations, so we kind of rely on the clientele that comes inside here for hockey. So we closed up shop for 4 months and just waited to the right time to reopen, and when they reopened, we kind of followed pace and reopened as well.
Okay. So, there was one that just kind of had that major shutdown, and everything else was kind of just incremental. And now you guys are all kind of trying to slowly creep. I don't want to say slowly creep out, but come back out at a steady pace so that all the Billy Bricks locations are online.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know what to expect in the beginning. We told all our managers, watch what you order, keep staff minimal, keep watch what, your inventory. Then as we went into the pandemic, we started launching different virtual kitchens on Grubhub and Uber Eats and different platforms to have multiple concepts within one store. So that's where Oak Park kind of flourished a little bit better than the others. And we have, a mac and cheese concept. We have a wrap it up concept. We have a wing concept. So, we kind of capitalized on the whole situation for the third parties. And that's, it's gotten some more sales.
When you said that you just actually had a lot of luck with the virtual kitchens just from this too, it kind of helped out with, because I mean they were probably mostly delivering carry out anyway at that point, right?
Yeah, and we're luckily at Oak Park. There's a company called Food Fetch that takes most of our deliveries for us, so we don't have to pay that higher percentage from Grubhub. So that helps out. We pay them, and they, it's a better service. They deliver the food, and they're expanding. So hopefully they'll expand into more of our markets and follow suit, so that we can use them for more delivery option as well.
Okay. Well, let me ask you real quick, because the initial conversation I wanted to have with you again was about incentivizing or not incentivizing, but compensating employees. And this was all we had talked about this before the situation happened. I think before the end of last year, and I think the question still stands, but now it's kind of a two-parter. how are you compensating your employees? I don't want to say above and beyond, but that made you special, that made you somebody that they wanted to work for. How are you compensating employees beforehand? And maybe how did that change? What was kind of the arc of that change between, the end of last year, December, to now? Uh,
You
what was
know,
some of the best compensations?
I mean, we compensate our employees fairly like everyone else. I would say we probably have better hours than most restaurants. We close at 9 o'clock. We close at 8 o'clock on Sundays. Friday and Saturday we close at 10. So those are incentives right there where you're not working late nights.
Hmm.
We do pay pretty well, and then we have a shared tip program that all the tips that come in, we share them with all the employees, including the cooks, and that's a big incentive because that can raise your hourly wage $2 to $3. So if you're making 12, you're making 15. Another incentive is the trucks. If you get to work a pizza truck, you're making upwards of $15 an hour plus tips. Some of my guys make $20 to $35 an hour sometimes.
Now, does the pizza truck, does that have its own staff, or is it all like kind of volunteer from within the Billy Bricks staff?
I mean, most of the time it's within. There are a few employees. My franchise truck has my older son kind of oversees that one, and that's all solely what he does. But then we do take some employees from that are not working morning shifts. They'll come and do a lunch, or people that are not working nights come to give them extra hours. So that's a big incentive.
Yeah.
Because they can work 30, 40 hours here and then work another 20, 30 hours on the truck.
Well, that's kind of what I was going through. This is supplemental hours. It's not, it's not hours transferred from the Billy Bricks location. This is stuff they can do on the side, along the same lines of what they already do, and actually, go out and that's a change of scene. I can tell work in a kitchen, working, somewhere else sometimes. It's actually nice to get that change of scene. Do you have people fighting over that position as far as like trying to get those shifts?
We're picky on the truck because you have to it's a little bit more fast paced, so you have to really know what you're doing as far as making pizza goes. So the guys that go on the truck are probably more of our, the best pizza makers we have, our veterans. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an incentive to go on the truck because you're going to make good money. It's a little easier work because you're not moving around a lot. You're just kind of in one spot. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for them to make additional income.
Well, I mean, this is just, and let me just talk about, that's another bullet point we're getting ready to come to here, is that you guys have managed to, you were opening one beforehand, but now you have two actual mobile units out there. So we're going to talk about that. But I know one's corporate and one's your store.
One's a corporate truck, and then the other is my truck. It's a franchise of Billy Bricks. So we have different franchise options with our company. We have a brick and mortar franchise, or we also have mobile franchising available that you can go and contact Billy Bricks HQ for. And then we have we even have we actually have Wheels 3, which is a trailer with the oven on it as well.
Okay, so this is like Wheels 2. Okay, but there was also another Wheels.
Yeah.
Now this
one's more
is
of a mobile unit where we just haul it in, and we can do smaller parties for that. Maybe the trucks are booked up for, and we have another option for you.
Okay. So you guys were actually getting these ready to go beforehand, and then all of a sudden, one of these was in I don't know if it was your corporate or your franchise one. One was already getting ready to work. I mean, so is this something that you found has been definitely a benefit in the times right now? Are you using this truck more in a lot of places?
Well, the first truck we had for about a year and a half already. My truck we got in last year, October. So I just missed the summer events. Going into this pandemic, we obviously lost all the festivals, all the the large events, the gatherings that we normally would make big money on. So we kind of had to rethink and retool the truck, and we got a lot of requests to come out to people's neighborhoods, and those have been pretty good. I mean, we've been doing like 350 pizzas in some of these neighborhoods where you wouldn't think you're parking in front of somebody's house, and people from all around the neighborhood are coming up and ordering pizzas, and it's they're liking it better than going to a restaurant because they come up to the window, order their pizza, get it, and then they go back home.
Okay, well, and I want to ask the regular questions here, or the questions of the regular man, the layman here, but So as far as like obviously between food truck regulations and brick and mortar regulations, as far as health code and stuff like that, they're I would assume they're night and day. There's a lot more hoops you have to jump through for a mobile unit. What were the major differences that you noticed, and how did they change between um, the beginning of the pandemic to now, as far as mobile units? How's the
As
restrictions
far
on
as
that
mobile
changed?
units, there was really no changes. As far as
Really?
other than we couldn't have large gatherings, and we just had a socially distance, so we were still considered essential. But when we went to these pop-up, neighborhoods, there wasn't much change as far as how we had to operate because we didn't have a dining room, so we didn't have to abide by any guidelines.
Wow. Okay. I honestly didn't expect to hear that, but I mean, it kind of makes sense. I think I don't want to say the food trucks, they're not over regulated. They are more regulated because there
Yeah.
are a lot more contaminants out there when you go on the road. So I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, have you been to a lot of places where you've had to enforce that social distancing, where you've had to kind of mean about it?
No, not at all. I mean, once we set up, we kind of either the person that called us out there will have some lines drawn out, or where they'll have 6 feet apart. People are pretty, they're already doing it themselves, so it was nothing that we had to do any differently, other than and take their orders, and we have 2 different windows that we could give them pizza or pick up the pizza. So other than wearing masks on the truck, and probably wearing gloves to make people feel better that we didn't have to do before, those are the only big changes, I would say.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So they did, you obviously have to have the mask and the gloves, which a lot of people would have. A lot of people tend to have gloves. Mask is the big one that everybody's gonna kind of. That's the biggest change everybody's had to
Yeah.
adapt to, and that kind of leads me to another question. I'm just jumping all over my notes here. I sent them to you, but I'm just going all which ways here. But as far as like, wearing the masks, as far as some of these new things that you've had to adapt to, are there any kind of regulations or mandates that you're going to keep after we go back to whatever's called a new normal? Are you going to keep things like your food truck people have to wear masks, or kitchen staff?
No, me personally, no. Once it's all said and done, I wouldn't wear a mask on the truck. It's pretty hot on there, so
Mm-hmm.
it's already hard to breathe with the mask on as it is, and in front of a 1,000-degree oven, you can only imagine how hot that is.
Okay, no, yeah, I 100% get that too. Just even wearing
So
masks out in
definitely
general.
don't want to wear a mask. I mean, and
But I
plus,
mean,
yeah,
it just are there any changes that you've had to make recently that you're like, hey, man, that's kind of working out. It gives a good presentation to the customer. I'm going to keep that. Is there anything that you've added right now that you're going to keep after this?
I mean, probably within the restaurant and on the truck. I mean, we've done a lot of differently. I mean, obviously we clean our restaurants thoroughly. We always sanitize all the tables, and we do those things, even before the pandemic. But I think we touch on more areas that we didn't do before, like door handles, elevator buttons, maybe shelves that people touch. Just really sanitizing areas that are touched more frequently, and then actually getting out there and sanitizing them more frequently. So other than that, I don't think we did a pretty good job of cleaning, and the truck itself gets cleaned after every event, washed, sanitized. All the food product comes off, goes into a cooler in our commissary. So the truck gets cleaned each and every time. Probably better than any restaurant that you can think of.
Do you think that maybe this was the time for people to kind of reach into that mobile unit universe and start feeling it out?
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a lot more mobile units in the future, just kind of because of that? The regulations, you're supposed to be clean. Hopefully you are, but I mean, the fact that it's open air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And granted, that's going to be seasonal, but I mean, do you
Yeah,
think that's
I
something
think
we're
it's
going
going
to
to
go
drive
more?
a lot of people to go into the mobile business because it's a little. People are accepting them more today than they would have probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you real quick about the reopen, because you said you had to shut down one of your locations, a restaurant that was in the hockey arena.
Yeah.
Of course, because sports were going down. But I mean, as they were kind of, some of those locations were opening back up. How did you guys manage that reopen? Were there things during the shutdown that you were focused on, kind of preparing for, or I mean, what should people be thinking if they've had to shut down? What should they be thinking about from day one?
Well, the biggest focus on reopening here at Mount Prospect was to retain some of my employees, so that when we got kind of back to normal, that I wouldn't be here by myself. We did have a lot of good employees, and we lost some employees because we were closed for 4 months. They actually had to look for other sources of income, which we understood. But for the most part, we retained most of our employees, and we're back up and running, and we've actually hired a few other ones. So I would say that there's a lot of people looking for jobs out there, and it's just finding the good quality ones out there now.
Okay, I mean, this is kind of off topic. I mean, this might be my most gotcha journalism. Did you have? I hear you guys are actually. We're going to wrap this up soon. I hear you're getting ready to go.
You're
But
good. You're good.
Did you have people that were, I don't want to say laid off or furloughed, but that wouldn't come back because of the current unemployment situation, which I know is about getting ready to change in like 2 days, one day. Did you ever feel that people?
No, we had a manager that was on unemployment, and she came back right away.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Did you find some people that didn't want to come back out of true, kind of fear and sincerity that they didn't want to catch something, or did you see at any point people who were just trying to milk the system?
No, we didn't get any. I didn't get any of that, at least at my stores.
Good.
I can understand the fear, but we did put a lot of stuff in place as far as like wearing masks, sanitizer solutions at certain points of the restaurant. Like I said, cleaning, and we take here at Mount Prospero, we take the employees' temperatures before they start their shift. We did have an employee recently who came in contact with somebody with corona, so they weren't allowed to come back to work until they got a test, and their test came back negative. So now they're back to work. So, we've taken as much precautions as we can. It's not a foolproof system, but we're doing what we can during this time of uncertainty.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's kind of the rates of testing up there? Because you're in Northern Illinois, you're Chicago area.
I don't know 100% of it. One of my employees, he got it, and I think it was about 5-6 days before he got results. So I guess it depends on where you go. But I think it's more of their processing time is a little backed up.
Yeah, well, it's the amount and the processing. I get that. I was just wondering in your specific area. I mean, Chicago, or that just being so densely populated. How long was it going to take, and whether or not that's another thing I'm trying to find out if they're giving any kind of prioritization at hospitals for people who do work in the restaurant industry. It's like, look, I got to get back right away, or as soon as possible. But
yeah, but it was nice that he could go get a test and let us know. Yep. We have it on file, so
good.
You don't want to be labeled as the place that didn't care. So we wanted to make sure we did every precaution before he came back to work, and that we had all the documentation noting that he was good to go.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's great, and I applaud you on your success in getting those mobile units up and running, and keeping your employees compensated. I did just want to kind of ask you one last couple questions. What's your best tip for compensating employees in the normal scenario? What's like one of your go-to compensations?
Me personally, I may have different management style than some, but I always try to pay the guys that deserve it. Obviously, with tips, it's a nice atmosphere, but I'm buying. We have free meals for them when they work shifts, but I'll go out of my way and buy them something different that's not always bricks, and get them lunch or get them dinner. And just saying thank you, and just saying that they're doing a good job, and acknowledging when they're doing something that they're supposed to do.
You think that's something that's good that shows you care, reaching outside? It's like, I'm not going to give you a gift certificate from our own pizzeria. It's like, exactly. I'm going to get you something else, or cash even. Cash is good because it goes everywhere.
100%. Money makes everybody work a little bit differently.
Yeah. All right. So what is the best tip for anybody kind of in this, I would say in the food truck industry, just real quick, just one of the best tips for people either trying to get into it or open one like you have in the middle of this, and the best tip for success, if you can combine it into one. Just your best tips for mobile units.
It's definitely not easy. I think the food truck, misconception is that you're going to open a food truck, you're going to make a lot of money. It's probably more work than the restaurant. The reward is a little bit better, but it's a lot more work. So, I would always tell people, if you're going to get a food truck, probably have a restaurant first, because you need the commissary normally to unload and load. So it's a good supplemental income for your restaurant to get out there to market and to, you know, get parties that you would never get before. And at the end of the day, then you can get people more hours, but to get a crew to run the truck, and so you're not there doing everything else.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, this coming from a true, I like how you said at the beginning, he's like, to have a food truck, have a restaurant first. That one just stuck out with me right there. But it is all about, you know, building that solid crew.
Well, because I always say that if you know how to run a restaurant, then a food truck would be easier. But, you know, to get in and say, I'm going to open a food truck because, you know, I'm going to get in the restaurant business, I think that's a misconception. You still need to know what you're doing first.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, having seen both, I mean, there's, you know, vast differences in between. Yeah. I mean, you can't just assume that because you can do one, you can do the other, though.
No.
I mean, did you find that? What was the one thing you went into arrogantly thinking, I can manage this? What is one of the first things you said, oh,
Well, it's a lot of hours. I mean, some weeks, you know, because I'm running the truck, you know, now that I have my son, it makes it a little easier, but I was working, you know, my 55 hours at my, you know, as a director of operations for Bricks, and then another 20 to 30 on the truck. Mm-hmm. So 80 hours, 90 hours a week probably sounds normal to some people that are in the restaurant business, but, you know, for some that are trying to get into it, it's not a good lifestyle to have.
No, I completely get that. Just don't underestimate the amount of work and time that you're gonna have to put
100%,
in
100%.
to a food truck. It's not just something that's gonna pay for itself.
No.
And it's honestly, just as much. It's just as much work as a brick and mortar.
Oh, 100%. And having the brick and mortar, it definitely helps you advertise the food truck. So that's definitely how you can get more business for the food truck. You're not relying on going out there and just, you know, setting up shop and trying to make a buck. Where, you know, we just do event based only. We don't really set up shop anywhere. We don't run the truck every day. Just really private parties.
Okay. Well, and that's a whole nother discussion too about how do you market and manage, you know, your events and your locations. All right. Well, is there one thing that you want to let everybody out there in the industry know? Just one thing of positivity, just a good, you know, a goodbye message.
Pizza's pandemic free.
Oh. Pandemic free, man. Okay.
If you're in the pizza business, you're in the right business.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, I had another saying like that too. But honestly, people always love pizza, and you can make pizza whatever you want it to be. So I get that.
Yeah, it's something affordable that people still can, you know, during tough times can afford to still splurge on.
Yeah, I always say pizza is recession proof.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to upgrade it to pandemic free, but all right. So if you're making pizzas, keep making them because people always want them. All right, Giovanni. That's all the time we have today. We have another little comment up here real quick. Dungeon Chat Expert says, wife's hometown, I assume Elgin or West Dundee or somewhere like that. Thank you with Dungeon Chat Experts. They have helped us a lot in this doing these events and always there to watch us. So how can people actually reach out to you? I mean, would you be able to answer any questions about mobile units and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They can reach out on our Facebook pages for Billy Bricks Wheels 2 or Billy Bricks or Wheels 1.
Okay, well, we have BillyBricksHQ.com for the Facebook and the... Okay. All right, so yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to Giovanni, he might have some answers. He might ask you some questions. I don't know how that works. So thank you, everybody, so much for joining in today. We're going to see you guys next time in the live updates. I'm Brian Hernandez. Thank you so much, Giovanni. Just say goodbye to everybody.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, he said. All right, and there we go.